staying with us. And I promised the kids I'd have pancakes and bacon and everything.
Okay.
And then after that, I had a puzzle for the kids, and we were sitting down to do the puzzle.
Okay.
And the phone rang.
Okay.
And it was President Biden. And so that's when he told me. And it was obviously life-changing in so many ways. But, you know, I have to tell you, Shannon, I at that moment, I knew what it would mean, but not in the detail of it, but I certainly understood the seriousness and the gravity of the moment. Mm-hmm. And actually, one of the first people I called was my pastor.
Wow. Okay.
I knew I needed a moment to just be still, and for my spirit and my mind to have clarity about the seriousness of the moment and my role. Mm-hmm. And
okay,
I'll never forget.
Right.
That call or that moment or that day.
Your life instantaneously changed in that moment.
Yes, it did.
Because now all of a sudden you weren't going to be running, you weren't going to be the VP anymore. You were going to be front and center. And
right.
You knew what the undertaking, having been 4 years as the vice president, what that moment would mean.
Mm-hmm. I had a sense of it, you know, like so many of us, you know, when you this is your life, right? So there are those moments where your instinct kicks in, mm-hmm. sometimes before your conscious mind and thoughts do.
Right.
And my instinct kicked in immediately.
Yeah, something tells me alcohol with Kamala Harris wouldn't spark any more thought-provoking conversation than we already hear. Like, it wouldn't help her word salad, her jibber-jabber out much. Like, if anything, she needs water, an energy drink, a Gatorade, you know, something to help, not something to hinder.
Immediately that I need to focus. Mm-hmm. And I need to do certain things immediately, which included making, I think we estimated I made over 100 calls that day. Mm-hmm. My team, and I have an incredible team, all came in. And nobody expected, right? It was a Sunday afternoon.
Correct.
In fact, we actually joked who had taken a shower that day. Because, people came in their workout clothes. Right. Different people and, a bandana around their head, just, and came in. And we then, for hours and hours, well into the night.
Did you tell them? Did you tell them why you had summoned them to come to your place? Did you give them that news, or were you waiting for them to get there to share that news with them?
Well, so the news started to, as you can imagine, pretty much immediately, and but of the many blessings that I have and have had, one of them is an incredible team of people around me. You know what that's like, yes. Where they're just there, and they will rise to a moment, and no matter how high that moment is, or meaning how serious it is, and what I love, and it's certainly my own work ethic, that there is no job too small or too big, mm-hmm. If there's something that needs to get done.
So although you have a huge role now, what's a typical day like for you now once you've been thrust into this? What time are you normally getting to bed? What time are you getting up? And what's some of the activities that you do in a given day?
I'd probably estimate 14-hour, 15-hour days. Okay. When I wake up, no matter how little sleep or how much sleep I've had, I work out every morning.
Okay.
Yes. It's like mind, body, and spirit, right? Mm-hmm. And then, and that's the only time of my day I really own. And then it is, these days, it's not unusual for me to be in 3 or even 4 cities in one.
Now, if you want to compare schedules, honestly, there really isn't even a competition. Like I said, Trump is in Georgia, I believe, right now. He's done 2 rallies in Georgia. He just killed it in New York the other day. As we all know, he just completely wowed everybody with the Joe Rogan podcast. 3-hour format. The man never sleeps. He does, by some accounts, 3 or 4 events a day. So Kamala Harris, when you compare her schedule to Donald Trump's, there really is no competition. I think Kamala has been averaging 1 or 2 events, maybe 2 on a busy day, 1 on an average. And yeah, it does kind of seem like, as far as work ethic, Donald Trump is lapping her. And if that's any prelude to what we can expect from either one of them once they get in office, then I guess we can clearly we can say that Donald Trump is outworking her. I mean, she doesn't even want to show up every day already. So imagine when she gets in office and we have all these precarious situations going on that need immediate attention. We'll imagine how she'll handle it.
One day, rallies with thousands of people, 10,000 people showing up.
Like, think about it. She got Obama. She got the Obamas and Walls doing most of her campaigning for her at this point. Like, they are doing more. They're doing more consequential campaigning for her at this point. They're swinging more voters for the Harris campaign than Kamala Harris herself is at this point.
Making calls to folks. Just now I landed in Atlanta, the mayor of Atlanta, who greets me every single time.
Yeah.
So I'll talk with elected leaders who are supportive about, so for example, here in Atlanta, what do we need to do to make sure that we're giving folks the resources to knock on doors and remind folks of the power of their voice? And 12 days in, it really is a lot about trying to focus on getting folks to know their power, to not let anybody suppress or silence their voice, and to vote.
Right. So breakfast. What does Madam VP eat for breakfast, or do you have time to, or is it on the go?
No, when I was younger, I didn't think I needed breakfast. I wasn't a breakfast eater.
Okay.
Now I have breakfast every morning. It's usually a spinach omelet. It's not very exciting.
Right.
But it's protein with a little vegetable. And, I like chicken, apple sausage, and some toast. And then I'm gone.
Madam VP, you're a couple of years older than myself.
One thing that I've realized watching Kamala for the better part of a month or two in comparison to Donald Trump, she's a little bit more comfortable in this this non-formal format, which is to say, sitting down, catching up, more non-political centered conversations when she's just speaking about her background, her breakfast options. Yeah, now you see a little bit of Kamala's personality interjected. Now, when you bring up politics, which is the only thing that's relevant, I could give a damn about her spinach omelet. When you bring up politics, it seems like she shies away from this character or the authentic version of herself. That's when she kind of resorts back to the script, so to speak. And there's nothing impressive. There's nothing wowing. There's nothing that has. There's nothing that confirms to any of us that when she sticks on topic, that she deserves our vote. But when she speaks about her life, her breakfast options, her schedule, I guess she seems a little bit more personable. That's just something I've realized. Like, when she's not talking politics, okay, we can kind of tell she's being her true self. But when she is talking politics, it just seems like she's only going off of what her handlers have told her, what her advisors have instructed her to stick to.
So we kind of grew up in the 80s. But I'm only 35.
Come on now, I'm your guest.
No, but you only 30. But we grew up.
But just keep moving, because I'm gonna give you a shovel in a minute.
I see. You won't let it go. Dang. We could have just moved on past that real quick, but you drew attention to it. But we grew up in the 70s when music went in fire. Ohio players.
Oh yes, fire. Come on.
Oh, you were like fire.
Come on.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yes.
She wasn't looking like this with Anderson Cooper. That's all I'll say. And shout out to everybody who's rolling in so far, man. Make sure to double tap that screen, like the video. You can hit the 3 buttons in the upper right hand corner, man. Let's get the likes up. Show some support to the stream. Let's make it a fire one. Let's do it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. What do you listen to now?
Oh, I wish I were listening to more music, to be honest with you, because I love it. Just but
you don't have downtime, like when you have downtime?
I don't have any downtime, really. I know my little violin I'm playing right now with you. I really don't. But when I love jazz. Mm-hmm. If it's from Thelonious Monk to Miles Davis, I love Aretha. I was just with Stevie.
Right.
Stevie's, can I tell you?
Yes, you can.
Bucket list. Stevie Wonder on my birthday sang me happy birthday.
Happy
birthday to.
You see, she's lively. She's animated. It's like she's catching up with an old friend, reminiscing almost. And what's funny about the point about jazz is she's actually naming artists versus when she said rap, she really had to think like, oh, I don't know, Tupac. Like, bro, if that isn't the most stereotypical answer you could give somebody when they ask if you like rap, that's like asking somebody, it literally, you ask somebody who doesn't listen to rap or doesn't like rap who their favorite or who the most notable rap artist is, they're gonna say Tupac. Like, it's clear. It's an answer that literally says, like, I don't know. Why are you asking me?
Me.
Oh my!
Can you imagine?
No.
I was literally, it was surreal. Can you, a bucket list moment
Right.
when Stevie Wonder himself sings you happy birthday?
As an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
could you imagine
Never.
your life would have been like this?
Never.
This many years
Never.
later?
And let me tell you, my mother she had every Stevie and every Aretha Franklin record, every album, like literally every one of them. So Songs in the Key of Life, like all those Stevie songs that were about everything from the movement to optimism. I would have never, at 18, thought that he'd be singing me happy birthday. Ever. Never.
That's the least. I mean, but obviously everybody knows who Stevie is. He was a child prodigy, 13 years old, and he was doing great things. But to see, Madam VP, what you've been able.
You know who she didn't mention? Michael Jackson. Oh, man, perfect segue for those of y'all who don't know the history between Kamala Harris and Michael Jackson. Let's inform the viewers here because there's a reason Janet Jackson came out and said what she said about the Kamala Harris campaign. There's a reason. And for those of you who don't know, she said, I don't support Kamala. Yeah, I don't support her. And it was like, oh, you don't support your fellow black woman? She's like, she's not black. What do you mean? Now, the Jackson family and Kamala Harris have quite the tenured past, and we'll get into that shortly with this video that uncovers some of it. But for those of you who don't know, Kamala wasn't the biggest fan of Michael. She had her bone to pick, so to speak, with Michael. And this video right here will detail exactly why.
That could mean life in prison, and cases like this can depend on the testimony of the child accuser.
In general, the child will be able to recall and recollect with some detail the incident, and that is persuasive to a jury, even if it is the only testimony that is available.
Jackson gave a wave when he was released after booking. He's scheduled for arraignment in January.
Michael's been a long-time resident of Trump Tower, and last night the Donald strongly reiterated his defense of Jackson with Larry King by going after the accuser's mother.
She's had plenty of experience at going after people, and she goes after them viciously and violently, and I saw a story and I read another story about some of the things she's done, and I don't believe it.
But you know what it's like when an indictment comes down.
It's tough.
It's presumption.
It's tough. It's tough to win, but I have a feeling he's going to win, Larry. The interesting thing is I've known Michael from many different standpoints, and Michael would spend a lot of time with my kids. I have beautiful kids, and at the time, like at Mar-a-Lago, and even in Trump Tower, the kids were very young. Michael would come, play with the kids. He just loved children. He was not a child molester, and I am certain of that. He loved children. He'd play with my son Eric and my son Donald, and he'd just play with them forever. He loved children, but he was not a child molester. And, you know, that whole final saga of Neverland and the police and what they did was, I think, a very, very bad part of Michael's life.
Yes. So now y'all kind of see the past between Kamala Harris and the most popular pop artist, R&B artist, arguably, of all time. So there's a reason she didn't mention Michael when she got up here and talked about her favorite artist. Yeah. I know. A lot of us did not know that.
Able to do. You've had so many firsts. The first woman attorney general, African American, Asian American descent. You was the DA of San Francisco. You were the first Indian American U.S. senator.
And second black woman ever in the history of the United States Senate elected. Second in the history of the United States Senate.
Have you had an opportunity to sit back and reflect and say, wow, but work is not yet done?
That's more where I am. The work is not done. The work is not yet done. There's so much to do. I mean, to your point, being in the Senate, there is a weight of responsibility that I know we all feel, right? When we have been blessed with an experience that allows us to be a role model.
Great.
and to hopefully inspire people and to remind them of what's important or point out the things that need to be addressed. So, for example, as only the second black woman elected to the United States Senate.
Oh, my God. I know I ain't just hear that. Oh, man. Oh, man. She's playing in our face, y'all. She's playing in our face. She really waits till she's in certain rooms, till certain conversations come up to claim that black card. Now, when she's on stage, when she's asked about it in other environments, she downplays it like, oh, it's not important. Check my history, check my past. But when she gets on here with Shay Shay and he says, we're proud of you, we're rooting for you. Oh, yeah, she's going to put that black card, she's going to wear it right on across her chest like an S. That's crazy. I know I ain't just hear her say that, but to this whole point, she ain't really been playing the black narrative. She been letting the media say it. But now, a week away from election, when the polls is looking bad, when, you know, support is wavering, she kind of pulls that out and makes sure y'all know, like, okay, when y'all head to these polls next week, just know you voting for the second black woman president, like, or the second black woman, the first black woman president, but the second black, I gotta hear back what she said again. I almost missed it. She triggered me by just saying she was black. I ain't gonna lie.
Inspire people and to remind them of what's important or point out the things that need to be addressed. So, for example, as only the second black woman elected to the United States Senate, I took on a real role of leadership around black maternal mortality.
Second black woman in the Senate. Second black woman in the Senate. Well, okay, maybe the first Hindu woman in the Senate, but the second black woman in the Senate? Why are you playing on that narrative now? Why are you just now pulling that out?
Affects black women and affects their spouses, their husbands, their families, their children. And I feel a sense of responsibility and a very strong duty to make sure that I use my voice and in a way that is about lifting up people who have not always been in the room.
Hello, America. Mr. States and Shape stepped out for... Hey, folks.
If I could...
Check in tomorrow.
Yes, everybody needs to go play black.
If you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell?
They ain't paying me to say that, so...
If I could speak to my 18-year-old self, I would probably tell her... continue to keep your friends. You know, my best friend from kindergarten is still one of my best friends.
What?
Yes.
Y'all made it to the first grade as best friends?
Yes. In fact, she's been out knocking on doors in North Carolina just this last week for me. Wow. I would say, you know, hold on to that.
Now, I could insert a joke about how she's so down bad that she has her friend campaigning in her hometown, knocking on doors. I could make a joke about it, but it'd be too easy. I could make a joke about how they're down in the polls and they need all the support they can get, which is why they've wired Barry Soetoro probably some M's to join the campaign trail. He's hitting the campaign trail harder than Kamala right now. I could insert a joke about how Beyonce, how Michelle Obama have done more for her support than she has in the past week or two. I could insert all those jokes, but it's low-hanging fruit, and I promise you I will not do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. I'll resist the temptation.
That, which is your friends are so important. Your family is so important. I would probably encourage myself at 18 to remember that you have a lot of people who are supporting you, even if they don't know you. You know, that's what I mentor a lot of people, Shannon. So this is what I'm really reflecting on, which is what I tell the young people I mentor, including to know that even when you are in that room and you're the only one who looks like you or who has had your life experience, to know you are not alone in that room and that you must therefore walk in that room, chin up, shoulders back, knowing we're all there applauding you. When I mentor young women and men, I remind them that you are often going to be told, well, it's not your time, not your turn, you're too young, nobody like you has done this before. And I tell them, you know, don't you ever listen to that.
This is the same lady who called the demographic of voters 18 through 24 stupid. What do we know about them? They're just plain old stupid. So what's she talking about again? The same demographic of voters she's already insulted, alienated by her comments. which is a majority of her base. I'm not going to lie. Think about the demographic that fills up these institutions across America. They're kids, 18 to 24-year-olds, liberals, and they are probably predominantly voting for Kamala Harris.
I like to say I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear no. You ask me what I eat for breakfast? I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear it.
Right.
And that's part of what are my life lessons that I try to share with young people, to remind them that you cannot ever be burdened by other people's limited ability to understand who you are. Like, don't let their limited ability burden you about your own ability, you know?
Madam VP, you were raised by a single mom. What did that experience tell you about your mom, and what did it tell you about you?
Well, it told me that one of the things that is precious is to build community and family. Okay. Like my mother, she understood that there is a community that she wanted her children to be raised in. Mm-hmm. And she was very intentional and purposeful about that. And so I always say to people, even when I took the stage as the nominee for the Democratic nomination, that, you know, there is the family that you have by birth, and there is also the family you have by love. And they're equally family, yes. Right? And I learned that from my mother. So my mother, I had all these aunties and uncles. My Uncle Sherman, who was one of the first black men to graduate from Berkeley School of Law, who, when we were young girls, sat us down and taught us how to play chess. Because Uncle Sherman said, you need to understand how the chessboard works, because that's the way the world works. They're going to be different players with different moves. And you need to see the whole board. My mother raised us around, like my Auntie Chris, who went to Howard in the 50s and pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha. And she was one of my incredible role models growing up. And that was one of the big reasons I wanted to go to Howard University and pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha. Those are some of the lessons that I've learned from my mother. And I try to also share with people, right? Which is the beauty of community. And it's the way I am, right? Which is, you know, the children in my life, whether they be my own or, you know, my godchildren or whomever, right? That it's a collective responsibility that we have. Did you
know you were different? I mean, were there a lot of people in the community that looked like you and like your mom, or did your mom tell you were different? Well,
my mother taught us to.
Her mom told her she was Indian growing up. That's what she told her. She told her the truth. She told her about her heritage.
Like, don't worry, Kamala, you are an Indian Marxist, but you were fake black to get this election.
And you know, it's funny to think that, all due respect to my Indian people, to think that they play about their heritage. You know, it was preached and told to this young lady that she was, when she was younger, like, look, you're Hindu. Your heritage is Hindu. Be proud,
bro. And even during the whole Kamala Harris expose that Candace doing on about her race, even I ain't gonna lie, them almost come to the conclusion that Kamala may not even know she's not black, because it was her dad who fed it to her, and her dad's side, that's where she gets her blackness from. But her dad's side can't confirm they're black.
This woman is 60+ years old. She knows her goddamn heritage.
Hey man, shoot, hey man, parents' lives can go a long way.
I ain't giving her no pass, man. 23andMe exists, Ancestry.com exists. I ain't giving her no pass.
And everyone in my growing up, you know, they would tell all of us kids that we were special.
Okay.
I don't think we were particularly special.
Right.
But they told us we were, and we believed them.
Yes.
We believed them. I think that's such an important part of what we can all do for the children and the children in our lives. And, you know, but my mother raised 2 black girls to be proud black women. Back to music. One of the soundtracks from.
Make sure to like the video, guys. Go ahead and double tap that screen for me. There are 3 dots up there in the corner. Right back to the video, man. Appreciate the support. Let's go.
My childhood was, you know, you are young, gifted, and black. You know? And that's what it was.
I'll get the phone number later. And we're back.
But yeah, no. I don't think Kamala Harris, like dad, I don't think bro even know he's not. Because if you hear the story that Candace was saying, now it's either he knew and he's just trying to play the race card, or he didn't know and he confused his, well, I guess, the people who took care of them, which were his family's slaves, and confused them with his caretakers. It's possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible. If not, that ain't the case, then, well, Kamala is blackfacing it. Kamala's blackfacing. And she's an Irish Jew.
Cancer.
Yeah.
You were very close to your mom because you was a single parent, and that was pretty much what you had, although you had a community to help raise you.
Yes.
How did you cope with that loss?
Grief is difficult. It's difficult. You know, there are two sides to the coin about when you have relationships in your life that touch you deeply, and then to lose that person, it leaves a big void, right? That's the two sides. And I think that part of what I was just talking about this, but the big part about grief is, especially if you lose somebody to a sickness, to an illness, I think it's really important that you try to remember them as they lived and not as they died.
Right.
Because I think that's how they want us to remember them, but also to remember their suffering, which hopefully was a fraction of their time on this earth, is to compound the grief in a way that I think it adds to the pain. And what they'd want is that their active memory, that our active memory of them is about when they were vibrant and alive. Right. So
let's get into things that will change what will happen if you were to become president, say in the next 12 to 13 days. Polls suggest that voters trust President Trump, former President Trump, more on the economy. What can you tell the voters, our viewing audience, our listening audience, that if you were to become president, wow, Madam VP Kamala Harris will be much better on the economy than what President Trump was?
Hey, James.
Well, so I'm really glad you brought that up, Shannon. So first of all, let's clear up certain myths.
Okay.
You know those checks that went out?
Yes, those skimmies.
Right. Right.
The stimulus check.
Yeah.
Let's clear it up, because this is the moment I've really been waiting for, because they want to say the spending increase under the Trump administration, but then they also want to say Trump didn't give us those stimmies, and I'm like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
So if Congress and congressional Democrats approve the stimulus checks, namely Nancy Pelosi, then they would be culpable for the increased spending under the Trump administration. Yeah. Now, if you say, okay, well, it was Trump, then you kind of got to give him credit for giving us those stimmies. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you kind of got to give him credit for the stimmies and then for the result of the stimmies. You can't just say, oh, the Democrats are the result of the stimmies, but we want to give Donald Trump the result of the stimmies?
Now, if you take the credit away from the stimmies, all right, and then he isn't culpable for the increased spending. So you kind of got to pick one when it comes to that narrative.
Pick a side.
Oh, God.
No. Well, right. Yes.
We got to be for stimulus, but they call them stimmies. Okay.
The reason those came about is because there was a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives and Congress. People like Maxine Waters, people like Hakeem Jeffries, right?
Yes.
Who did the work of pushing to say, people need help right now and we need to send out checks. There was a whole lot of opposition to it.
Don't forget insider trading Pelosi, man. Don't forget her.
Big money Pelosi.
Oh, God, boy.
Donald Trump's White House.
Yes, even him. I think he was resistant to it at first.
Yes. That's why those checks, remember, Congress holds the purse.
Yes.
So really, Congress wrote.
And just think about context. He was resistant to it. If we go with that narrative, yeah, I probably would have been resistant to it too if I knew y'all would have attached the narrative of, oh, the spending increased under my administration after I left office. Why would I let y'all do that? Yeah, I'm going to be against it. Like, let's find another way to do this, because I know what y'all going to try and say, how y'all going to try and paint it.
Yeah, so damn, that's crazy. So yeah, if I increase the spending for the people, not only are you gonna take credit for what the people get, but you're gonna blame me for the result of it.
Damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Bro, it's like this man's always caught in a game of Connect 4, but he's gonna lose both ways.
And bro, it's crazy how they try to vilify the man. The man that literally was faced with a global pandemic that nobody knew, and people knew little to nothing about, created an operation initiative to get us through it, tried to help us out with stimulus checks, and they still painted a negative narrative against this man.
And make sure to like the video, guys. Double tap that screen, 3 dots up there in the corner. Let's go.
Those checks, but then Donald Trump, unlike any president before or after, decided he put his name on those checks.
So therefore, people thought
Donald Trump, they gave me that check. And so let's clear that up first and foremost, but let's also deal with where he was in terms of his policies on the economy. He gave the biggest tax cuts for billionaires and the biggest corporations. which caused an incredible deficit. He tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which we also call Obamacare, which benefited so many people, including, and in particular, black people in America who otherwise were denied by the insurance companies health coverage because of pre-existing conditions.
Yes, that's most important. Let the people know.
Right?
With Affordable Care Act, if you have a pre-existing condition.
It's so crazy how she skipped Joe Rogan, the one person that was going to hold her accountable on all of her Trump derangement.
But she sat down with Uncle Shay Shay.
Yeah, who's going to give her the biggest softball interview?
Like I said, it's like two old friends catching up. Like they both went to Howard or something. It's like, hey, what's up, my nigga?
You
like,
can't compare yourself to Trump, bro, if you can't sit down with Joe Rogan, bro. You can't.
Bro, I made the exact same point.
It's kind of crazy because here's the thing. She knows she'd have went on Joe Rogan. I'm pretty sure she watched that Joe Rogan episode. She knew that, bro, Joe Rogan wasn't going for none of that TDS.
And you know what's crazy? Joe Rogan is a fair moderator. He would have gave her some questions that made her look good, put her in a positive light, but he also wouldn't have let her skate past anything that needed to be answered, right? Economic questions, policy, tax questions. Like, yeah, no, we need to know. This is what you came up here for. At the same, like I said, at the same time, he's not going to grill her ass. He's not going to have her in a hot seat, so to speak, but there's some questions that need answers.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. Like, even though Joe Rogan would have gave her, honestly, a nice thing, said, I just want to talk to her like a person.
Yeah.
But we all knew that as soon as she hopped on the Trump derangement and said all this stuff, he'd have pulled it up on her. He'd be like, well, look at this screen right here so we can just prove you wrong.
Jamie, pull that up.
Pull that up, bro. Let's pull up the whole speech.
Oh, God. Shout out Jamie in the back.
Condition, insurance companies could no longer deny you coverage.
That's exactly right. And if you think about what that means in the context of also knowing the big health disparities we have in the black community, and how more likely, therefore, black folks might be to have pre-existing conditions.
Blood pressure, diabetes.
All of that.
Cancers.
All of that.
Yes.
Asthma for our children.
Yes. Sickle cell.
It's all of that. So by getting rid of the pre-existing condition ban, what that did, but he wanted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
What we have done, and part of my policies going forward include what we need to do to not only retain the cap that we got on insulin at $35 a month for seniors. By the way, black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes.
Correct.
He wants to get rid of it with that Project 2025. Everybody needs to check that out. What he would do to get rid of Social Security, or at least raise the age to 70, so you'd have to work to 70 to be able to qualify. Right. Get rid of Medicare, get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And that's just on health policy, not to mention bringing back not only tax cuts for the richest people, but what he would do that is about eliminating or reducing the ability of corporations to be required to pay overtime pay.
So you could work and the corporations wouldn't have to pay you for
overtime.
Who work for free?
That's right. And overtime means you are actually working a longer day, which means you are more tired, which means it requires more exertion. That's why we have overtime pay. So you don't take advantage of workers.
With respect to Shannon Sharp, it's like her going on all the smoke. They're sports guys.
Yeah.
They're going to ask her the most basic general political questions. They're not going to press her on tax policy, economics, geopolitics, foreign aid, or anything like that. I mean, they're not versed enough to do so.
But here's the thing, though. Joe Rogan was talking about that, but we know Shay Shay's not talking about that. Though.
Exactly. And she knew that. Her advisors knew that.
That's why they went on there.
That's why they booked this.
It's like, what?
Like, come on. We're a week away from an election. Questions need answers on both sides.
And you show up on a podcast for celebrities.
I'm just like, come on.
Not the podcast for intellectuals like Joe Rogan. Of course, he has his conspiracy theories, but my man be having the top scientists, top professors on that bitch.
Bro.
You couldn't go over there? All right, yeah, you running.
In addition to all of that,
like the video,
we're
guys,
looking at Donald Trump, basically somebody who has never been.
Whoa. We ain't gonna conflate Joe Rogan and Shannon Sharp. One definitely has more intellectual, high IQ conversations, more compelling conversations, I would even say, thought-provoking conversations. And shout out Shannon Sharp, he's doing his thing. I'm a fan. A fan, but come on, we can't compare Shannon Sharp to Joe Rogan.
Especially the guest-wise. Guest-wise.
And I'm a fan. I like Shannon Sharp.
Me too.
But come on now, let's not do that.
Understanding
the Monique and Cat Williams
issues that affect the community about disparities. And I'm going to talk, for example, about how when he was a landlord, he denied rent to black families. You look at what he did in terms of taking out a full-page ad in the New York Times against the Central Park Five, which were a bunch of, they're not young adults, they were teenagers black and brown teenagers.
Central Park 5
took out a full page ad on the New York Times calling.
You want to,
bro?
You want to, bro?
I already brought this up. Look,
bro, do we got it on X or is it on our?
It's on our community tab.
Oh,
it's on the
man.
community tab. I posted the actual ad that Donald Trump took out. Yeah, the ad that he took out in the New York Times where he said he called for the death of those kids.
He didn't even mention
lied. He lied. I mean, I'm sorry, not he lied, but they lied. They lied about what the ad that Donald Trump took out. If you actually read the ad, go ahead and read the article, bro. You would see that the man was talking about grape altogether. He was pretty much talking about how it even says in the first part. Can you didn't want to read that?
Yeah, I got you. Shay. So this is the ad that Donald Trump supposedly took out against the Central Park 5. Now, mind you, at the time, everybody assumed their guilt, even their parents. If you watch the documentary that they did on Netflix, even their parents were like, "Nah, you gotta turn yourself in."
Man,
it was looking bad.
Effed up, G.
So
you can click on it.
Is it gonna let me click on it? I think it will, bro.
All right,
it's all good.
I got you, G. But it is a bit crazy though how they kind of just let this lie run off, and we'll just take it from there.
Good look. So
I'll say read the first one.
So this is the ad that again Donald Trump supposedly took out against the Central Park 5. What has happened to our city over the past 10 years? What has happened to law and order? To the neighborhood cop we all trusted in to safeguard our homes and families. The cop who had the power under the law to help us in times of danger. Keep us safe from those who would prey on innocent lives to fulfill some distorted inner need. What has happened to the respect for authority, the fear of retribution by the courts, society, and the police for those who break the law?
Man.
Who wantonly trespass on the right of others. What has happened is the complete breakdown of life as we know it. Many New York families, white, black, Hispanic, and Asian, have had to give up the pleasure of a leisurely stroll in the park at dusk. The Saturday visit to the playground with their families, the bike ride at dawn, or just sitting on their stoops, giving them up as hostages to a world ruled by the law of streets, as roving bands of wild criminals roam our neighborhoods, dispensing their own vicious brand of twisted hatred on whomever they encounter. At what point did we cross the line from the fine and noble pursuit of genuine civil liberties to the reckless and dangerously permissive atmosphere which allows criminals of every age to beat and rape a helpless woman and then laugh at her family's anguish? And why do they laugh? They laugh because they know that soon, very soon, they will be returned to the streets to rape and maim and kill once again.
So, and this is the article. Bring back our police. In this, he said, bro, bring back the death penalty. Bring back the death penalty and bring back our police. Nowhere did he mention any one of the Central Park 5. He didn't even mention them.
He didn't mention the occurrence. He didn't mention the crimes that they did. He
never
just
called for their
the
death.
Now, listen, if you read this article and you go back to the state of New York at the time, he's clearly speaking on the state of affairs.
Yep.
Of New York, the city that he came to prominence in, the city that he knew all too well at the time, the city that he put a lot of money in. So you could understand his position when it came to crime in the city. Like, nah, this is my home.
So please, educate yourself. Go look back up Trump's ad. Bring back our police and read it for yourself. We read the first half. There's more sections to it. Please read it for yourself before you talk about this Central Park 5 BS, because it's atrocious what they said. He didn't even mention them. If anything, he mentioned how black people should be safe to go and jog in the park.
All races that live in this neighborhood need to be safe, have the same freedom of safety. Strolling in the park, sitting at the bench, nobody should be fearing for their safety. And to that point, shout out ADJ $2. He said, much love.
Appreciate you.
To that point, it's not like this article was the deciding factor on whether they got put in jail or not. They were already in trial. They were already turning themselves in. That was already something that was underway, right? This article had little to no consequence on their convictions.
Man, and that's the only ad he released that day. Only ad he put out. That's the only one. So, is there another ad where he says it? No, that's it. That's what I'm saying. When people say, no, don't believe the lie, go read that ad for yourself, they're saying that because they actually want you to be informed. But y'all TDS, man, that TDS keeps you dumb and blind. Could you tell me you couldn't go and actually look up this article? It's as easy as that. Look up the article, New York Times. Okay, he took out New York Times. Let me read it for myself.
And if you want to take a deeper look at it, again, it's in our community tab. Go ahead and check that out. And again, we appreciate you, ADJ, first super chat of the stream, man.
Hey, appreciate you.
For their execution.
Like the video, guys.
They did not commit. They were innocent. Donald Trump, who said of the first black president of the United States, the birtherism, to have people question whether he was born in the United States to try and diminish. And then most recently,
everyone thought they were guilty. Everyone, including their parents, thought they were guilty.
Dog, if you can't wish death on rapists, dog, you got a deeper problem.
And mind you, some of the boys confess. Now, I understand coerced confessions, and I've seen documentaries, and I've seen psychologists and body language experts explain it, right? I'm into forensics and crime, so I get all that. But at the time, what are you going to go off of other than the perceived guilt? These boys confessed. Their parents told them to turn themselves in. The national media, the local media assumed their guilt. Everybody thought they were guilty. So who are we to separate Donald Trump from that and say, no, you should have known. You should have known, Donald Trump.
It's crazy they don't come after those newspapers and all that was pretty much saying that they did it. I mean, crazy.
Bro, and shout out BTK $2. He says Trump's a social moderate and an economic conservative. Yeah. A 90s Democrat, so to speak.
Yep. Shout out.
You look in this very election, legal black immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, saying they're eating their pets. So part of what we have to help people understand is don't think you're in Donald Trump's club. You're not.
Right.
He's not going to be thinking about you. You think he's having you over for dinner? You think that when he's with his buddies, his billionaire buddies, he's thinking about what we need to do to deal with addressing, for example, my work around what I'm doing to address disparities in black men's health, around colon cancer, around what we need to do around screenings, what we need to do around prostate cancer. Black men are twice as likely to have, and screenings, what we need to do to address.
I'm a survivor of prostate cancer.
Right. You know what I'm talking about.
Do. Go James and the Lakers are back putting on a show. And you know I got to get the best deal on tickets. That's why I need to tell you about my sponsor, SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more sports. I'm excited to go see the Lakers dominate the Sixers at the Crib. They put all their tickets across the web in one place to make sure you're getting a good deal. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. So you look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. And you know I came through for you guys. Use my code Shay Shay for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code Shay Shay. Would you want to touch on some specific things you would like to do to keep it, because the economy seems to be heading in the right direction, but the inflation, gas prices are extremely high, groceries are extremely high, this rent. I mean, it used to be when I was renting, they moved the rent up $40 a year. Now they moved it up $400.
So let's talk about that. I'm glad you raised that. So, for example, groceries, yes, the prices are still too high. You know it, I know it.
Yeah.
Part of my plan is to deal with price gouging. I did it when I was Attorney General. I'm going to do it as president, which is these companies that will jack up the prices of groceries to take advantage of people in need, and in particular during a crisis, like what you see around the pandemic or Hurricane Helene.
Quick shout out to ADJ again, man. We appreciate the support. $2. He says, ad in the middle of a Kamala interview. Yeah, he's had like 3 Black Ops 6 ads.
Hey, bro, maybe we need to hit out Black Ops 6. Like, hey, yo, Black Ops.
Bro, go ahead. Support the channel.
Hey, man, we'll take some slots, too.
Oh, man. Shout out. Can't hate the hustle.
Yes. Milton.
Right?
Yes.
Milton, right? So there's that. In terms of housing, first of all, we know that black families are 40% less likely to own their home. And we can go back to redlining. We can go back to policies that were by law or practice,
you don't say,
meant to not give black folks equal opportunity to home ownership, especially in certain neighborhoods. We can go back to what happened around the GI Bill, and when all those, the great generation we called them, came back, and there was federal policy to say, you all fought for our country, we're going to give you a boost around helping you buy homes. But those black servicemen, and it was mostly men, those black servicemen did not. So you had then a time when there was a boost for, it ended up being not for black service members. So part of my policy is to, one, create a fund so that we will give a $25,000 down payment to first-time homeowners to just help people get in the door. We will deal with the rent issue because part of what we're seeing in Atlanta, in places across our country, is these corporations are buying up all these properties, which means then that they don't have to deal with competition between the properties and they're jacking up rent costs. So it's about also going after that corporate gouging around what they're doing to buy up and then jack up the prices of rent. We also need to help.
She wants to talk about corporations that are buying out the homes in a set community or neighborhood, setting the price, ultimately leveraging their ownership to make a buck. But what about the companies or the people who are working with government subsidies and pricing people out of their homes for TPS residents? We can speak to that, right? Springfield, Ohio, people have been priced out of communities they've stayed in a decade, 2 decades, 2 generations for migrants that are coming in and getting their half of their rent or 70% of their rent subsidized by the government.
Man,
how's that fair?
Getting the jobs over to civilians, getting the jobs over to citizens because of what? Temp services.
Man, and if you know anything about these temp services and how they operate with these migrants, they don't ever have to hire them. They don't ever have to offer them full-time benefits, maternity leave, PTO, health benefits.
And if you got temp agencies in your city, you know there's some temp agencies that only work with the people that work in there. If there's a bunch of Mexicans in there, they only work with Mexicans. A bunch of Haitians in there, they're only going to work with Haitians. It's almost should be looked into. This should really be illegal, but it is what it is.
Bro, they operate like lawless entities, low key. They hire only a certain race. Like I've been into some temp agencies and I've been into some temp agencies and realized they weren't gonna hire me because I wasn't from a certain background. Like if you didn't speak Spanish,
you weren't getting that job, bro.
If you didn't speak French, like
bro.
Damn.
I remember the lady would literally speak to you in Spanish. You said, "Huh?" I'm sorry. Yeah. We're out of jobs. We don't have it.
Yeah, we're only hiring like make sure to you can come back at a certain point, but not right now.
Yeah, they can't tell you that they're only hiring Mexicans.
Yeah, they will never say that, but they'll just say come back in a few months or come back in a few weeks. Shout out Utter Filth and shout out XRM, man. What's up?
Hey,
people with small business ownership.
Yeah,
shout out.
I did even before I was running for president a tour. I called it the Opportunity Economy Tour, focused on Black men and Black entrepreneurs. What we know is, unlike Donald Trump, who got $400 million handed to him.
You know what? Perfect segue. Let's take a look at the aggregate polls.
Hey, you gotta love
My
it.
favorite part. So, right now, oh wow. Okay, so right
Trump
now
is up.
Yeah, you got Trump with almost a point lead
in
over
the
Kamala
nation?
in the national
Bro,
polls.
no polls look good for Kamala in a minute now. All right, let's go to Arizona then, because that's the national poll. So Trump is leading in the national poll by 0.8.
So in Arizona, you got Trump up by damn near 2 points. Damn near 2 points.
Yeah.
And that's across most polls.
Bro, and we're talking about it comes from Telfarger Group, Insider Advantage,
Marxist,
Bloomberg, CBS News.
The only time they
CBS
have them
News
tied.
did a poll of 1,400 likely voters, and it came out to
But
Trump.
look, Seth, the only time they have them tied is Bloomberg right here.
Yeah. But you know Bloomberg don't like Trump. You seen that interview? Yeah, that boy was on his ass about his economic policy. Trump folded his hand and be like, "Man, I ain't wrong, bro. You wrong. I was weak."
That is crazy. Yeah, he did go on that stage. He was like me against the world type shit.
Man, he's like, you ain't about to tell me nothing.
But this is a demonstration or an example we like to play with sometimes off stream. But we say over here at S.E.T. Key Media, Trump needs these 3 consequential states. Now you got, I think 7 or 8 of these swing states, but as long as Trump gets these 3, he should win in theory, right? So you got PA. Go ahead and turn that red for my man. You got North Carolina and hopefully Georgia, right? I say either Georgia or Michigan, but it needs to be Georgia because of the electoral vote.
Yeah, to get that 270. Bro, like I said, all Trump needs to win is Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, and the election is over. It's over.
That means that he can lose Wisconsin. Now, we'd want him to get it, right? But he can lose Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. And just for demonstration purposes, I'll go ahead and turn those blue so y'all can see. But that's all he needs. PA, North Carolina, and Georgia, and it's Trump's win.
And if Kamala does get the rest of those states, it's going to be 268, 270 Trump. It would be considered close, but Trump is going to win the election by 2 electoral votes.
And there you have it, 268, 270, close as he said, but just off the electoral votes and the strength of these states, PA, North Carolina, and Georgia, which he has been hitting pretty hard.
I mean, honestly, if you look at the polls up there, let's go to the polls for PA, North Carolina, and Arizona, and that spot. So let's go to Georgia. So he's up in Georgia, right? 1 point up in Georgia. Let's go to North Carolina. He's
almost a 3-point lead, 2.5 point lead.
So
in North Carolina
is basically his, and then Pennsylvania.
Shout out Steph.
1.2 lead. So he's leading in every state that he needs to win the election overnight.
And we're a week away from an election, so bearing unforeseen circumstance, he should technically and presumably get these states, right? But we need everybody to make sure they're registered. Friends, family, community. Take who you got to take to the polls, man. Too big to rig, man, and we need everybody voting. Even if you're voting for Kamala, man, it's important that everybody shows up.
This is why they're in panic. They look at this every single day, and they're like, bro, we're not up in the states where this man's going to take the election in. We lost Pennsylvania. We lost North Carolina. We definitely lost Georgia. So after that, it's over. That's why they're panicking. That's why they're doing everything they can to paint this man, however, at this point, because they know they're losing.
And yes, you heard me correctly. You're not going to hear a Trump-funded station or a Trump-funded platform say that. Even if you're voting Kamala, we just want everybody informed, registered, and voting come November 5th.
Yeah, we don't care. Vote for Kamala, vote for Donald Trump. It don't matter.
It don't matter.
But let your voice be heard.
Oh, God. Now back to the show.
Now let's go.
Him practically on a silver platter.
Make sure you like the video, guys.
For bankruptcy
tap that
6
screen.
times.
3 buttons in the upper right-hand corner, man.
Let's
do
it. Take a look at his record. I know that so many of our entrepreneurs who have great ideas don't have access to capital, but they have serious work ethic, great ideas, and a plan to do the work. So part of my plan is to increase access to capital, including giving $20,000 forgivable loans for startup capital for people to buy the equipment.
Right.
And
hey, shout out Troublemaker, $5. I'm a union recruiter. Migrants don't get financial help for housing. The temp agencies take part of their check to help them. They are modern slaves. No, and I can partially agree with your point. They are low-key pimping these TPS residents or these migrants. The companies, the cities that bring them in, they kind of have a need for them. Like they make a good point in Springfield. Like some of these jobs, people don't want them because they're not paying enough for people in the city to work. But the migrants come in, and this is the part that you're missing. In your point, they are getting subsidized housing from the government.
Yeah.
They are. That is a confirmed fact. So while it might not be enough for you or me or Set, if you're getting half of your rent, 70% of your rent paid for, you're getting food stamps, you're getting other forms of financial aid or financial assistance from the government, it's more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than enough.
Shoot, you just need a job to hold down whatever groceries I guess you got to buy for yourself or whatever car note. They paying for your housing.
When you say financial help, maybe we're having a difference in where they're getting it from, but their housing is getting partly subsidized.
I mean, bro, they get it from FEMA SSP. It already showed it. It already showed how we low-key give them money out of the FEMA program or out of the FEMA budget to go put towards humanitarian services for immigrants by helping them out and helping them helping them get a stronghold in America. Ain't that crazy? But we refuse to help our homeless and all that good stuff. We refuse to help our veterans more. But we got some money for these, immigrants.
And then to change the tax deduction. So whereas it is now $5,000 to make it $50,000 to start a new business, because nobody can start a new business on $5,000. And the direct benefit when we're looking at Black entrepreneurs is profound. And all it is about saying this: Americans in general, regardless of their race or gender, we have ambition, we have aspirations, we have dreams, but not everyone has access to the opportunity to let some actually accomplish that. I want to increase access to opportunity.
Listen, unfortunately,
migrants pay more in taxes than they use in taxes. Fact. Hold on, migrants pay more in taxes than they use in taxes? Bro, that don't make sense, G. I'm gonna be real with you, because you mean they pay more in tax? How would they pay more in tax? You'd have to further explain that. Also, employers steal billions from workers every year in lost wages. Facts. And lost wages? What do you mean in lost wages? Like, how are they lost if you're working and you're getting the paycheck? And lost wages would mean that they lost the job, which would be their fault. I don't know, like, hey, if they lose their job because of their actions, that's on them. But migrants paying more, bro. The American, bro, the richest in America funds 43% of our taxes. What the hell? Migrants pay more taxes than they use. I mean, how? How would they pay more taxes? The only way they pay more taxes if they're making a lot of money, which they're not.
And I like to hone in on the second point. Employers steal billions from workers every year in lost wages. Through what method?
Yeah.
Through what means? Through what means?
Like what?
Elaborate on that.
Cool, shoot, because y'all definitely gonna lose some wages if Kamala gets that unrealized tax on gains or unrealized capital gains tax, and raise the corporate rate. Oh, you're gonna lose some wages then. But we're like what? Employers stealing billions from workers, bro. Employers give billions to workers.
Now, again, we can agree on the fact that these temp agencies and these employers are kind of pimping these migrants, because they are to a degree, but you're going to have to elaborate on the rest of the points you're making, namely employers stealing billions from workers in lost wages. How? What? By what means? By what vehicle?
Man.
Actually, I've gone viral a few times, but I've never on the ways you GLP-1s through Roe. Madam VP, if you were to become president, what measures would you put in place to make?
And you've been in here before, so we appreciate your commentary, but please elaborate.
Make sure Social Security benefits continue, because there are reports that it could possibly be depleted by 2033, and there are estimated that 11,000 people turn at least 65 years of age every single day.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
And shout out Go Light Z. I don't know how you pronounce it, G. But shout out for the $10 support, man. We appreciate you, big dog. And we're gonna call you Zay or Zaya.
To make sure, because that, people, disability, retirement, survivors with beneficiaries. What are you going to do to make sure that that continues?
So, Shannon, to your point,